The smoke from the burned offering stung my eyes. I stood in the temple courtyard at dawn, watching the priests drag a black bull to the altar stone. The animal's blood would please the gods, they said. The animal's blood would bring rain to our dying fields. I did not believe them anymore. My name is Theron. I am a merchant from Mycenae, or I was before the drought came, before my ships rotted in harbors that turned to mud, before my wife died of fever and my sons went to serve as oarsmen on warships bound for Troy. I had nothing left but questions the priests could not answer. Why do the gods take everything? Why do they demand our blood, our grain, our children, and give us only dust? The bull screamed when the bronze knife opened its throat. The sound was almost human. I turned away and left the temple, walking through streets that smelled of sweat and dying animals. Mycenae was a city of stone and shadow now. The great palace still stood on the hill, its walls painted red and gold, but the market squares were empty. People whispered that the gods had abandoned us, that we had angered them somehow. I did not care anymore which god was angry or why. I wanted answers that were not prayers. That morning I took the northern road out of the city.
These charts, they whisper of a passage, Theron, away through the shrouded isles.
Many have chased whispers, trader. Most find only a watery grave.
I had heard stories from a trader who came down from the mountains. He spoke of a cave 3 days' walk into the hills, where the earth split open during the great shaking 2 summers ago. He said strange lights came from inside. He said people who went in came out changed, if they came out at all. I wanted to go in. The road was dry clay, cracked like old skin. The sun beat down on my head and shoulders. I carried a water skin, a bronze dagger, and a small clay lamp filled with olive oil. I wore a simple tunic and sandals. I looked like any other Travant trying to outrun bad fortune. On the second day, I passed a shepherd boy watching a thin flock of goats. He stared at me with eyes too old for his face. "Where are you going?" he asked. "North," I said. "There is nothing north but the Deadlands." "Good," I said. He did not try to stop me. By the third day, the hills turned strange. The grass grew in patches, yellow and sick. The stones looked wrong, like they had been melted and then frozen again. The air tasted like copper. I found the cave just before sunset, a black crack in the side of a cliff face, narrow as a doorway. No bird sang near it. No insects buzzed. I stood at the entrance and felt cold air pour out, even though the day was hot. The lamp shook in my hand. I could turn back now. I could return to Mycenae and live out my days asking priests for blessings I did not believe in. Or I could go in. I went in. The cave mouth swallowed me whole. The sunlight died after 10 steps. I raised the lamp and the flame bent sideways as if pulled by a wind I could not feel. The walls were smooth, too smooth, like they had been cut by something other than water or time. I walked deeper. The tunnel sloped down. My sandals scraped on stone that felt warm under my feet. The air grew thick, heavy like breathing wool. I heard a sound ahead, a low hum, steady as a heartbeat. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Then the tunnel opened, and I saw light. Not firelight, not sunlight, something else. It was white and blue and cold, and it came from cracks in the walls, in the ceiling, in the floor. The cracks glowed like spider webs made of stars. I stepped into a chamber so large I could not see the far wall. The floor was black glass. The ceiling vanished into darkness above me. And in the center of the chamber she waited. She sat on a throne of stone, or maybe the stone had grown around her. I could not tell. She was a woman, but wrong. Her skin was pale as milk, smooth as polished marble. Her hair fell around her shoulders like water, black and silver at the same time. Her eyes had no whites. They were black from edge to edge like pools of oil. She wore no clothes, but she was not naked. Her body was covered in symbols carved into her skin. The symbols glowed faintly, the same light as the cracks in the walls. I could not read them. They hurt to look at. She smiled when she saw me. "Hello, Theron," she said. Her voice was soft, gentle. It made my chest hurt. "How do you know my name?" I asked. My voice cracked. I sounded like a child. "I know all names," she said. "I gave you language. I gave you names so you could call to each other in the dark." I stepped back. My hand found the dagger at my belt. She laughed, not cruel, almost sad. "That will not help you here," she said. "Nothing you carry can hurt me. I am older than bronze, older than stone, older than the gods you burn animals for." "Who are you?" I asked. She stood. She was tall, taller than any woman I had ever seen. She walked toward me and her feet made no sound on the glass floor. The light from her skin grew brighter. "I am the first mistake," she said. "The first thought. I am the one who bent down into the mud and made you from clay and breath and starlight. I made your bones from the bones of the earth. I made your blood from the water of the deep. I made you to be beautiful." I could not move. I could not breathe. "You made us?" I whispered. "Yes." "Then you are a god." "No." Her voice turned cold. "I am what came before gods. I am what gods hide from. I am the mother they refuse to name." She stopped in front of me. She was so close I could see my reflection in her black eyes. I looked small, broken. "Why?" I asked. "Why make us?" "Because I was alone," she said. "Because the silence was too heavy. Because I wanted something that could look back at me and understand what it saw." "And do we? Understand?" She reached out and touched my face. Her fingers were warm. I should have pulled away. I could not. "No," she said. "You understand nothing. You kill each other over scraps of land and gold. You pray to gods who are just broken pieces of me. You live 30 years and die screaming, and you never once ask the right questions." "What are the right questions?" She smiled again. This time it was not sad. It was hungry. "Why do you suffer?" she said. "Why do you die? Why did I make you mortal when I am not?" I stared at her. "Tell me," I said. "Tell me why." "Because I was cruel," she said. "Because I wanted you to love life so much that losing it would break you. Because I wanted you to need me, to pray to me, to remember me." Her hand slid from my face to my chest. I felt her fingers press against my ribs over my heart. "But you forgot," she said. "You built temples to gods who came after me. You sang songs about sky fathers and thunder kings. You forgot the one who pulled you from the mud." "I did not forget," I said. "I never knew you." "Exactly." Her voice turned soft again, sad again. "And that is why I stayed here, in the cracks, in the deep places, waiting for someone to find me, waiting for someone to ask why." She stepped back. The light around her dimmed. "You came here looking for answers," she said. Ask me anything." My mind was empty. Then it was full, too full. "Why does the drought not end?" I asked. "Why do children die of fever? Why did my wife cough blood until her lungs gave out? Why do we suffer if you made us?" "Because suffering makes you remember you are alive," she said. "Because pain is the only language you truly understand. Because I built you to feel everything and you hate me for it." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. "Can you stop it?" I asked. "Can you end the drought? Can you bring back the dead?" "Yes." The word hung in the air. "Then do it," I said. "Prove you are what you say you are." She walked back to her throne. She sat. She looked at me for a long time. "I could," she said. "I could make the rains fall. I could fill your fields with grain and your rivers with fish. I could make your wife breathe again. I could reach into the land of shadows and pull her back into the light. Then do it. But I will not." I felt something snap inside me. I pulled the dagger from my belt and ran at her. I did not care if she killed me. I did not care if the earth opened and swallowed me whole. I wanted to hurt her. I reached her throne and brought the blade down toward her chest. It stopped. My hand stopped. My arm stopped. My whole body froze like I had been turned to stone. She had not moved. She had not raised a hand. She only looked at me and I could not move. "I told you," she said quietly. "That will not help you here." She stood again and walked around me. I could only move my eyes. I followed her as she circled me like a wolf circling a wounded deer. "You are angry," she said. "Good. Anger means you still care. Most of the ones who find me are empty. They gave up long ago." She stopped in front of me again. "I will offer you something," she said. "A gift, a trade." My mouth would not move. I could not speak. "I will let you see," she said. "I will let you see the first day, the day I made you. I will let you stand where I stood and watch the mud take shape and the breath fill the lungs and the eyes open for the first time. I will let you see how beautiful you were, how perfect." She leaned close. "And then you will understand why I cannot save you, why I will not." She touched my forehead with one finger. The world cracked open. I was not in the cave anymore. I was standing on a plain of black sand under a sky with no sun. The sky was filled with light, but the light had no source. It simply was. The air was warm and still. There was no wind, no sound. And then I saw her. She was kneeling in the sand, her hands buried deep in the ground. She was pulling something out, shaping it, molding it. Her face was calm, focused. She looked younger, softer. I watched as she pulled a figure from the sand. It was human, a man. His body was gray and wet like fresh clay. She smoothed his face with her thumbs. She traced his ribs with her fingers. She leaned down and breathed into his mouth. The man's chest rose. His eyes opened. They were brown, warm, human. He looked at her and smiled. She smiled back. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Then she made another, a woman. She worked faster this time, her hands sure and steady. She breathed into the woman's mouth and the woman woke. She looked at the man. The man looked at her. They reached for each other. She made more. 10, 20, 100. They filled the plain. They walked and laughed and touched each other's faces like they could not believe they were real, and she watched them. She sat in the sand and watched, and her face was full of love. But then something changed. The first man picked up a rock. He threw it at another man. The rock hit the second man's head and blood ran down his face. The second man screamed. He picked up a rock and threw it back. The woman I had seen first began to cry. She cried and no one comforted her. Two of the men began to fight. They clawed at each other. They bit and punched and kicked until one stopped moving. She stood, the woman who made them. She walked among them, touching their shoulders, their faces, but they did not see her. They only saw each other. They only saw what they wanted and what they did not have. She returned to where she had been sitting. She put her face in her hands, and I understood. She did not make us cruel. We became cruel. She made us free and we chose violence. She gave us beauty and we broke it. The vision ended. I was back in the cave. I was on my knees. My face was wet. I did not remember crying. She stood over me. "Now you see," she said. "I gave you everything. I gave you love and joy and wonder. I gave you freedom, and you used it to destroy each other. You used it to make gods who promised salvation if you would only obey. You used it to forget me. Then why not end it? I asked. My voice was broken, weak. Why not wipe us away and start again? Because I still love you, she said. Because I cannot stop. Because you are still beautiful, even when you are breaking, even when you are dying, even when you hate me. She knelt in front of me. She took my face in her hands. That is the curse, she said. Not yours, mine. I am bound to you. I will watch you suffer. I will watch you die. I will watch you forget me again and again, and I will not look away. What do you want from me? I whispered. Remember me, she said. Go back to your city. Tell them you saw the first mother. Tell them she is still here. Tell them she still loves them, even though they broke her heart. They will not believe me, I said. I know. She stood. She walked back to her throne and sat. Go now, Theron, she said. Go back to the sun. Go back to your dying world. Live what is left of your life. Will I see you again? I asked. Only at the end, she said. When your breath stops and your heart goes still, you will fall through the cracks, and I will be waiting. I am always waiting. I do not remember walking out of the cave. I do not remember the tunnel or the climb back to the surface. I only remember opening my eyes and seeing the sun again. It was setting. The sky was red and gold. I walked back to Mycenae. It took 3 days. No one stopped me. No one asked where I had been. When I returned, the city was the same. The drought had not ended. The priests still burned animals. The market squares were still empty. I went to the temple. I found the high priest and told him what I had seen. I told him about the woman in the cave. I told him about the first day. He called me mad. He said I had breathed bad air in the deep places. He said I should pray for forgiveness. I did not argue. I left the temple and went home. My house was dark and cold. I sat in the courtyard and looked at the stars. They were bright and distant and uncaring. I thought about her words. I thought about the first man and woman reaching for each other. I thought about how quickly beauty turns to blood. I've tried to forget. I've tried to live like I did before, but I cannot. Every night I dream of the cave. I dream of her sitting on her throne waiting. I dream of the cracks in the walls glowing like broken stars. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I see her face. I see her black eyes full of love and sorrow. She is still there, in the deep, in the cracks of time. And I know when my days end and the darkness comes, I will fall through those cracks again. She will be waiting. She is always waiting.